So the internet has done tremendous things in our lifetime. Probably the best gift to me personally and professionally. It has now allowed a kind of communication that when I was born was not possible, and certainly 50 years before that was not even considered. Today, the Mars rover can communicate back to Earth that it has safely landed and send pictures within seconds of landing. My teapot can tell me when the water has reached that perfect temperature that I'm now ready to brew my tea. And that all happens through the internet. But with that total interconnectedness come a new set of considerations and a new set of problems. Consider these 2 points. One, the cost to store data of any kind, what you're doing, where you are, pictures, videos, has gotten much, much cheaper. At the early age of the internet, it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to properly assemble and store a terabyte of data. Now, it's less than $100 to store that same amount of data. I imagine in just a couple of years, it will cost nothing to store that data, or nearly nothing. That means that every form of data that can be stored will be stored and will be kept forever. 2, search is tremendously powerful. Instead of now just finding keywords, we can find things about people, things about places, and we can find it within nanoseconds, and we can connect long strands and long chains of data. These 2 very important technological advancements give rise to a set of ethical considerations that I don't think anybody imagined. And the one that I care the most about, the one that I think we as a country and indeed as a world need to consider first and foremost, is what we call the right to be forgotten. When we grew up, we did silly things. Maybe we grew up before the age of digital cameras and we were lucky enough to escape that picture resurfacing. But now everything you do, everything you say, indeed everywhere you go, can be memorialized and can be brought up in some future internet search. And somebody, somewhere, maybe somebody you don't even know, can make a decision about you, whether they want to hire you or whether they want to fire you, whether they want to date you, marry you, or divorce you, whether they want to extend a loan to you or whether they want to withhold a business transaction. And so we need to think about new tools and we need to think about new considerations that let us balance the concern of a private individual, somebody who wants to explore life, make mistakes the same way we always do, and always have, and always will, and that person who wants to use this tremendous power of the internet as I've outlined it. And so I think a couple things are really important for us to consider. The first is, how do we give individuals access and transparency to all that is known about them? Think about this. If you have a smartphone, the speed at which you drove down the highway to your latest appointment, to that meeting that you were eager to get to, was actually calculated. And it was stored, not just in your smartphone now, in the omnipresent cloud. And someday, a company or a researcher can access that data point without you knowing it to determine whether you are a safe driver. And imagine still whether that data point would actually figure into your insurance rate qualification and calculation. Now, I think it's important as individuals we have access to that information, that we can read through and understand in all transparency what people know about us. That's the first thing that I think we need to think about. The second thing we need to think about, and we need to be very serious about, is what right do we have to be forgotten? What right do we have to edit or change or somehow protect the innocence in the past of our lives? You know, I've done things, I think we've all done things in the past that we probably wouldn't want to share with everybody. This is part of growing. This is in fact evolutionary learning. We make mistakes, we try not to make them again. So even the most pure among us, even the most perfectly organized has indeed made a mistake. What we need to consider under this second point is, how do we give people a chance to go back and to edit and to trim around the edges, or at least drop a veil across those things that are most private? The most vulnerable among us, the people who are just coming up in the world, the teenagers and even younger in our society today, everything they do is going to be categorized. Everything they can do will be called up and used in some future investigation. So we need to unearth and figure out the technologies that are going to allow us to both use the power of this communication and use the beauty of this kind of ever-present database and knowledge about all of the things that we've done and the places we've been, and yet protect the individual liberties and safeguard the privacy of those who are vulnerable among us.